Hi there, folks. Thanks for coming to the Homegrown Hunter TV. I've got a very good friend of mine, Don Sangster. Outdoor Dreams Enterprises has come here to talk to us about safety when you're shooting, and of course the gear that he has that he promotes now. But I want to touch base a little bit about his history. I've known you, Don, for probably 4 or 5 years now.
Yep.
I met you at the Chase the Dream Fund Gala.
Yep.
And some of the stuff that you were talking about with your outdoor writing, and then about a couple of years ago, you just got into the actual hunting industry as well. So let's touch base on a bit of your writing history, and then we'll talk about what you have to offer.
Sure. First of all, thanks for having me, Steve. Yeah, I've been an outdoor writer for about 16 years now. I've written for most publications in Canada, a number in the U.S., web and print as well. But about a year and a half, 2 years ago now, I left my full-time corporate job and decided to pursue my passion for the outdoors full-time as my career, and I'm now in the outdoor industry, working with some different manufacturers, promoting hunting and fishing products to outdoorsmen here in Canada. Yeah, the two prominent ones at the moment are Realtree footwear and Sportier. So I'm pretty particular with the companies that I'll work with. They're typically American companies that are looking to get into the Canadian market, and that's where I can help them. There's an awful lot of products out there, and there's new ones coming along all the time, and a lot of them come and go pretty quickly, actually. So you have to be pretty selective with what companies and products you choose to work with and represent. They've got to be ones that are quality and that are going to be around for a while. And certainly the two that I'm working with for the most part now are those kinds of companies. So I'm pretty happy about that.
I know the Realtree footwear, when you're at the Sportsman's Gathering, they got a lot of interest. And, folks, I'll let you know right now, I was at a sports show in the U.S. It was the SHOT Show down in Vegas. And I heard this voice at the back of my head, hey, Steve, and I looked back and it's Don.
It didn't sound like that.
Yeah, you're like, oh, over here, there was a lot of people going on.
Yeah,
so I heard the noise, I turn around and I look, I'm thinking, nobody knows me down here, I'm in Vegas. But it was Don. Now, at that time, I didn't realize that Don had gotten into the industry. But the stuff he was representing was gorgeous stuff. I know that you're wearing a pair right now. Maybe we'll get a shot of that afterwards. But the camouflage shoe wear that's available now in Canada that he represents, I think is gangbusters. And I'm hoping to carry it in our store. But we're also, you're representing Sportier, which is what we've got here today.
Yep.
Hopefully a little later on we can show a little bit more of the Realtree shoes. But right now we're going to talk about the Sportier. I do know that you've got muffs here. They got a couple of different styles. Can you explain to me what the difference is between them?
Yeah, certainly. So Sportier as a company, they're based out of Utah. They've been making medical hearing aids, medical hearing devices for over 50 years now. I didn't even know hearing aids went back that far, but apparently they do. And about maybe 12 or 13 years ago now, the company decided that with their medical background, they still have a medical division, actually, but with their medical background, they felt that they could do a good job when it came to the sporting world as well. So they created a sporting division, which they called Sportier. And they make everything from just a sort of an inexpensive foam plug all the way up to custom, programmable, digital in-ear hearing aids, essentially, for shooters and hunters that run, $4,000. As their Canadian distributor, we sort of focus in the middle part of the line. We don't do the really inexpensive stuff at the bottom end or the really expensive custom stuff at the top end. We focus in the middle. So plugs, just a passive plug, but rather than an inexpensive silicone or a foam one, we have a silicone one that is actually washable. So it lasts for, you can get 6-8 years out of a pair of these, whereas a regular cheapo foam plug, you really should be disposing of those after a couple of uses because they do get gummed up with earwax. Then they have a line of muffs, both passive and electronic. So what that means is the electronic muffs will not only protect your hearing, but they'll also enhance your hearing at the same time.
Okay.
So they'll basically amplify low-level sounds like a deer or a turkey coming through the woods, 6 to 8 times normal. But then when that gun goes off, the circuitry in the muff suppresses that sound wave to a safe level. And that's really the issue here. I've done a number of shows now across Canada promoting these products, and I can't tell you how many people I've spoken to who came up to me, told me about, a lot of people think that hearing loss is a cumulative thing, that you need to be exposed to high,
continuous,
for
regular
long
decibels
periods of
being too
time.
high.
Exactly,
Yep.
and that certainly can happen.
Yep.
But you have no idea how many people have told me stories about how a single gunshot gave them permanent hearing damage, whether it was inside a shooting hut or maybe in a duck blind and somebody fired the gun really close to their ear or whatever, but they can recall the exact gunshot that messed up their hearing. And unfortunately, once your hearing is damaged, it's permanent. There's nothing that can be done to correct it. All we can do is protect it from further loss, but then also try and work with it with some of these devices that, again, will not only protect your hearing, but also
Enhance it while you're hunting deer
exactly.
and stuff,
And that's the thing, I think as hunters and shooters, we do a pretty good job when it comes to going to the shooting range to put on hearing protection. But a lot of us don't take those same precautions when we're in the field hunting. There's different reasons or excuses for it, but
I got a friend of mine, Randy. I duck hunt with him.
Yeah.
He actually is the guy that introduced us to introduced myself to the hunting world.
yes,
Went out hunting with him, and he says, "Well, I got to sit to the right." I said, "Well, what do you mean you got to sit to the right?" "Well, this is the way I like to shoot." Well, then you talk to him, and he can't hear
yeah,
you, and he's like, "What?"
yeah,
Because his left ear is literally shot out.
Yeah.
Like he's hunting with so many people with him hunting on the left side.
Well, it also could be that most right-handed shooters tend to have more significant hearing loss in their left ear
Because of the
because
action
that's
shot.
what's exposed to the gun. Your other ear is out behind you. So we do hearing tests at sport shows, and we typically find that right-handed shooters have more significant hearing loss in their left ear. A lot of people don't realize that you can actually get hearing loss, hearing damage through your cheekbones, as well as through the backs of your ears. Sound waves will travel through your skin and through your tissue. Unfortunately, unless we're going to wear a snowmobile helmet when we're shooting, there's not a whole lot you can do here.
Yeah.
But certainly a muff, when it comes to just pure protection, there's nothing better than a muff because it does, of course, cover the backs of your ears. So at least you're protected there. Where people make and I don't care what brand of muff you wear, just wear something, obviously. But the mistake that a lot of people make is, we go to the range and we're all wearing hats, we're all wearing shooting glasses, and they don't realize that those glasses and that hat actually break the seal of the muff around your ear.
Yeah.
And you can lose up to 3 decibels of noise reduction rating by having a hat or glasses. So what we always tell people is when you're at the range, double up, as we call it. Put something in your ear underneath the muff to counteract that loss of protection from the glasses or the hat, even if it's a cheapo foam plug. Just something to give you that little bit of extra protection that you're losing with the hat and the glasses. Personally, I do quite a bit of hunting and shooting, and I've wanted something that went in my ear rather than over my ear for some years. I have not everybody can wear a muff in the field when they're hunting, simply because, sometimes it can get in the way of your gun. Maybe it's a little hot on especially an early season goose hunt, for instance, or maybe it gets in the way of your headgear, your hood, your hat, whatever. So I wanted something that went in my ear. Unfortunately, those types of plugs were quite expensive, and I $1,000, $1,500 was sort of the going rate. About a year and a half or so ago, the company came out with a product that they called the Ghost Strike. So what they did is they took the circuitry from one of their custom plugs, and they put it in a semi-custom plug. So rather than doing a an impression, a mold of the person's ear so that we can make a custom fit. We actually call this semi-custom. So it comes with a bunch of different sized and shaped tips, both foam and silicone, and you try a few until you find the one that fits your ear the best. And you just scrunch the foam, you stick that in your ear, you flip it on, and again, it amplifies sound, low level sounds.
Now, does this have the ability to turn up and down the volume?
Yes, it does. It does. It just has a little wheel.
So it's not just an on-off.
No, it's a wheel, so you can adjust that. And I have played with that. Last deer season, I used those while I was deer hunting up in a tree stand. And as the wind kicked up later in the day, I found that I had to turn it down a little bit because the noise, the leaves and branches falling and whatnot, it became a little too distracting. It was too much. I had to turn it down a little bit. So I could still hear things coming, deer, turkeys, whatever. I could hear things coming before I saw them, but it wasn't overpowering.
The ambience sound was bothering.
Exactly. But then when the gun goes off, as I said before, the circuitry compresses that sound wave to a safe level, and then the foam plug in your ear canal acts as a physical barrier to the noise as well, to protect your hearing. So now those people who feel that they don't like a muff now can have something that sits in their ear all day long. You sort of forget it's there, and you can hunt comfortably, get a little bit of an advantage when it comes to hearing things coming, but then still protect your hearing when the gun goes off. And I think it's really important for people who are doing something that involves a lot of shooting through the course of the day. So duck hunting, goose hunting, whatever. Some people will say, well, I'm only deer hunting. I'm only going to fire one shot if I'm lucky. Well, yeah, okay. But again, you can have a little bit of an edge in terms of hearing the deer coming if you wear one of these.
Still have the safety.
Exactly. But even if you choose not to wear something like that while deer hunting, things like, as I said, goose hunting, especially when you're in a blind and an enclosed space, maybe with a roof, that sound will just reverberate within that duck blind or goose blind. And that's a potentially dangerous situation when it comes to your hearing. So that's a classic situation where I'd really encourage people to wear some sort of hearing protection.
Yeah. No, I've got a set myself, and I don't like stuff jammed down my ear. I prefer the muff. Some people may think they're tacky and ugly, but just from Randy's experience, knowing that he's had that deafening in the left side, it's definitely a safe way to go. Now, you've got two different sets of muffs here. I'm just assuming that one's a dial because I see another dial here. What are the differences between the two? Because this one here just looks cooler.
Yeah, that's actually a brand new model that we've just come out with in the last few weeks. That's called the M4.
Can you leave these with me?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Those are that has 4 mics, 2 on each side. This one is the XT2, which is a 2 mic model, so just 1 mic on each side. What the 2 mics on each side does is it gives you a little bit of surround sound effect, helps you to identify from what direction you're hearing the sound. So a 4 mic model would really be ideal for a hunting situation.
Okay.
Whereas a 2 mic model is great for shooting range when you don't have to take the muff off to hear the range officer's instructions or to talk to your buddy. And of course,
so
when you do that, that's when a gun's going to go off.
You're able to hear ambient sound.
Oh, absolutely,
okay.
Absolutely.
Well, here's another thing. With this model here that you're talking about, my father-in-law has worked at our local sawmill for the last 35 years. And to protect his hearing, he's got a plug in there, but has muffs on top as well.
Right.
Because I think they're like 92 decibels, which is extremely loud in the planing mill.
Yep.
I'm going to recommend these to him only because he's hard enough to talk to as it is. Huh? What?
Sure.
You put these on, now they amplify his sound. If you're talking
Voice
to
is
him,
talking.
if the decibel goes above what the safety levels are, it cuts
Yeah,
it
that
off.
kicks in at 85 decibels. So
Okay.
that's when the noise suppression circuitry kicks in, anything over 85 decibels, because that's getting up into the dangerous range.
Yep.
So all of our products will give you a noise reduction rating of anywhere from 20, 24, 25 up to 29, 30, 31 decibels of noise reduction rating.
Okay.
So they'll all protect your hearing. Some of them will also enhance your hearing at the same time. You mentioned that he wears something underneath the muff. This is a brand new product. It's just hitting dealer shelves now in Canada. It's called the X Pro. It's a passive muff, so it's not a passive plug, so it's not electronic. But what we've done is we've we've created a little, basically an on-off switch.
Button.
Yeah, so that if you need to maybe take a phone call, or you want to talk to somebody or whatever, rather than having to take the plug out of your ear entirely and then have to keep putting it back in and all the time, you can just leave it in there and just toggle it on and off. Because when that valve is open, it of course allows sound to travel through, and you can hear what you want to hear. But then when you get back to work with the noisy saws, you just click it on again, and then it protects.
I like that.
So that's a brand new product called the X Pro. We're just getting that into stores in Canada right now.
Okay, awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming. Well, where can you? Is there a sportear.com or something, or a website, or how does the viewer get in touch with you?
On our website, outdoordreams.ca.
Okay.
Is the best place. There's a listing there of dealers, of our various dealers across Canada, with links to their websites and phone numbers and addresses on how you can get a hold of dealers. If you're a dealer who's looking to possibly bring in a product like this into your store, you can of course get a hold of us at Outdoor Dreams the same way, and we can set you up with some of these products for your customers.
Awesome. Well, I'd like to have you come back. We'll talk about your Realtree footwear.
Sure.
We'll show some features of that, because
Sure.
I know my kids are freaking out about getting their own pair of camouflage shoes. So make sure you look into the next airing of the Homegrown Hunter with Dan. Dan, thank you very much for joining us. And yeah, folks, tune into the next HGH TV, and you can follow us on Facebook or go on to rackstacker.ca for any more details. Thanks for joining us.